the 2nd of October 2025. So this time next week we'll be starting our Kartik Parikrama on the 7th. I'll actually do a prelude on Monday next week. Monday the 6th, I'll speak something about Durvasa Ashram and Mathura on Monday. So we just have 2 more days left for our Caitanya Caritamrta reading. So we're doing the Adi-lila chapter 17, and we're on verse 103 today. And tomorrow is Ekadashi. And today is a very, very auspicious day. It's the Avirbhav, appearance day, of Madhavacharya. And it's the Dashera, when Lord Ram is defeating Ravan in Lanka. So we'll speak something of this. Agyan Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Shtapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swavadantikam Priya Sarupe, Daita Sarupe, Prema Sarupe, Sahajavi Rupe, Nijana Rupe, Prabhueka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swavalasa Rupe. Anapita Chirim Chirat, Kurunavaratano Kalo, Samarpaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam, Haripurata Sundurata Tikatam Vasidipita, Sadakradare Kandare Spuratu Vasachinandanaha. Yam Pravajantamanapetyam Apetikrityam Dvaipaina Viraho Karavaduriva Putre Titam Matayo Tarabobinidustam Sarabutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptas Chakarmati Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charanara Vindam Vajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Baradram Tato Mamanasti Katina Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Naimam Charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat Pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya-lila, Pravishta Om, Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our dearmost Nitya-lila Pravishta Om, Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And again my Dandavat Pranams unto the lotus feet of our beloved Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and all our Rupanuga Guru Varg and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord. My Dandavat Pranams to all of you. Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavnivyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. So today is Dasera. It's when Ram enters and defeats Ravan in Lanka, when he brings all the monkey soldiers and defeats Ravan. Very beautiful festival today that's celebrated all over Bharatvash. They'll burn many effigies of Ravan, fill him with crackers and burn him in all the towns and cities. So this happened in the, not even the last Treta Yuga, but the one before this. So this is literally millions of years ago. And yet still the potency of Ramchandra endures throughout the land, where everybody, every child knows the pastime of Lord Ram. All will sing and celebrate Ram Lila today. So very powerful day here in Bharatvash. And we're also honoring the Avirbhav, the appearance day of Madhavacharya. Madhavacharya is that personality, the second personality coming after Ramanuja to purify the Mayavad conceptions that Sankaracharya placed very strongly in the world. So we know the history that Lord Buddha advented many thousands of years ago, perhaps 1500 no, 2,000 years after Krishna departed, so about 3,000 years from now, Lord Buddha advented, and he preached the philosophy of ahimsa, non-violence. And in order to do that, he spread the conception of nirvana, of bliss in the Brahman, this impersonal conception. And in order to, because he had to make a strong wave of consciousness to understand, to not kill, that the Brahmanas, they had begun to kill the cows in the sacrifices. So Lord Buddha advented, Buddha avatar. And then the Vedic teachings, Lord Buddha had to teach not with support of the Vedic teachings, in order to put this philosophy very strongly into the consciousness of the people. And the Vedic scriptures were pushed out of India into the north, in what is now Thailand and Vietnam, etc., like that, those places. But then there was a second Buddha, Sakyasingha Buddha. He advented, and he is like a false Buddha, so to speak, and most people today follow this second Buddha. But then Sankaracharya manifests, preaching the same philosophy, the same Mayavad philosophy, that everything is one and that there's no individual personality. And he preached that, though, with the help of the Vedic scriptures. So he brought all the Vedic scriptures back into India, but preached the same Mayavad impersonal conceptions from the Vedas, Aham Brahmasmi, etc. I am that Brahm. So this is what he established in about 800 AD. And then after him came came Ramanuja, the first in our Sampradaya, Dara. And he was the brother of Lord Ram. And he preached the philosophy which is called Vaishishtyavad, Vaishisht Advaitavad. This means he was saying that yes, it's like one, but there's a speciality in the oneness. It was almost like a soft cell introduction to purifying the consciousness of all the people. Ramanuja was very, very powerful personality. And he's Lakshman originally. And he spread this philosophy. And then straight after him, 100 years after him, comes Madhvacharya. And at that time, the Brahmins had become very ritualistic in their practices. But Madhvacharya, he was preaching, teaching that actually these sentiments, the moods, are more important than the rituals. This is what he was preaching in a very powerful way, in a very affectionate, loving way. He was a brilliant musician. He would compose beautiful songs as he would sing. He traveled the length and breadth of India. He traveled to see Vyasadeva. He was very, very powerful incarnation. He contained the personality of Vayudev. Vayudev is the father of Hanuman. He also had that mood of Hanuman within him, that strength. And Bhimsen, Bhima. So he was very, very powerful. And there are many miracles connected with his life. And he smashed the Mayavad philosophy that Sankaracharya had erected in India. And in order to do that, Krishna manifested one beautiful deity of Balagopal. And that story is very sweet to hear, that one time there was a boat that, because his place is in Udupi. Udupi is on the seashore. And there was one boat one time in trouble. And Madhvacharya shouted out very loudly for the captain to throw him a rope, which he did. And Madhvacharya pulled that boat to safety. And the captain was so pleased, he gave him a block of chandan. And when Madhvacharya was carrying that chandan, it dropped. And inside that chandan was the beautiful deity of Balagopal. This is not Ladu Gopal. This is Balagopal. He's standing, and he's standing beside a grinding mortar. So very beautiful deity. So this deity helped purify the Mayavad conception and plant the conception of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his personal form.
So basically, Madhvacharya, he defeated the Mayavad conceptions, and he taught the precepts of pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord all over India. He developed many mats, etc. So his pastimes are very beautifully described in there's a lecture by Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj. So I'm not taking a lot of time to glorify him, but we should appreciate that Madhvacharya is most essential in our line. This is the line that Madhavendra Puri manifested in. And from Madhavendra Puri, of course, is Ishwara Puri, and then comes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So there's Brahma, Gaudiya, Madhva Sampradaya is our Sampradaya. And he preached the very boldly. You always see a picture of him holding two fingers up, saying, no, there is two. It is like Dvaita, there are two. There is Krishna, and there are his energies, etc., that are manifesting this world. So he preached like this, very boldly, very strongly. So Madhvacharya, we are greatly indebted to, and we greatly embrace his conceptions and teachings today. So Madhvacharya ki jai, and Lord Ramchandra ki jai. Okay. So now we'll come back to our Caitanya Caritamrta. I hadn't wanted to deliberately digress from the Caitanya Caritamrta, so I've kept our glorifications to a minimal, but we've posted them on our thread that you can read. So now we're beginning from text 103.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Are Dina Jyotisha Sarva Jnana Eka Oile Tahara Samana Kori Prabhu Pasna Koile.
Translation. So we're going through different pastimes of the Lord in his youth, in his like Pauganda age. And we've been discussing many beautiful pastimes, particularly of Mahaprabhu benedicting the different devotees and revealing to them their previous personalities, etc., and how he was interacting with them. We talked about Sukalambra Brahmachari, and we talked about Murari Gupta. So many different beautiful personalities that are the eternal parikas of the Lord, always with him in his pastimes. So this is the familiarity. It's not like Mahaprabhu was coming just with new people. They were all coming over from Krishna Lila. So many thousands of people coming from Krishna Lila were Mahaprabhu's associates. So we get that very powerful impression of the potency of Mahaprabhu and his parikas. So now this verse 103. Translation. On another day, an astrologer came who said to know. On another day, an astrologer came who was said to know everything, past, present, and future. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu received him with all honor and put this question before him. Now, Prabhupada's giving these different commentaries and purports, and he's giving us a window into the history. He's giving us an atmosphere of the time when Mahaprabhu was present. So purport, Brahmanas generally used to become astrologers, Ayurvedic physicians, teachers, and priests. Although highly learned and respectable, such Brahmanas went from door to door to distribute their knowledge. A Brahmana would first go to a householder's home to give information about the functions to be performed on a particular tithi or date. But if there was sickness in the family members would consult the Brahmana as a physician, and the Brahmana would give instruction and some medicine. Often, since Brahmanas were expert in astrology, people would also be greatly inquisitive about their past, present, and future. Although the Brahmana appeared at Lord Chaitanya's house as a beggar, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu received him with great respect because he was a qualified Brahmana who knew the astrological science perfectly. Although Brahmanas would go door to door just like beggars, They were honored as very respectable guests. This was the system in Hindu society 500 years ago, during the time of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. This system was current even 100 years ago, even 50 or 60 years ago. When we were children, such brahmanas would visit householders like humble beggars, and people would derive great benefit from the mercy of such brahmanas. The greatest benefit was that a householder could save a great deal of money from being spent on doctors' bills, because the brahmanas, aside from explaining the past, present, and future, could ordinarily cure all kinds of diseases simply by giving instructions and some medicine. Thus, no one was bereft of the benefit of a first-class physician, astrologer, and priest. The important members of ISKCON should give careful attention to our Dallas school, where children are being taught Sanskrit and English to become perfect brahmanas. If they are actually trained as perfect brahmanas, they can save society from rogues and ruffians. We see today in society how the medical tradition is full of cheating today. They give the allopathic medicine, and it has so many negative side effects very often, and so much of it is based on just money, if you can afford it. And certainly here in India, it's a big business, medical. They try and keep you as long as possible because they know in India, for example, everyone can get money somehow or other because they have joint families. They have very large family members, so they can always appeal to some members of their large family for some doctor's bill. So they take advantage of it. It's a fact. It's a fact. So what Prabhupada is saying here is actually a fact. They can save society from rogues and ruffians. Indeed, people can live happily under the protection of qualified brahmanas. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita 4.13 gives special stress to the division of society, Chatu Varanyam Mayu Shristam Guna Karma Vibhagsaha. Unfortunately, some people are now claiming to be brahmanas simply by birthright, with no qualifications. Therefore, the entire society is in chaos. Many of Prabhupada's purports are very practically presented. They're about the world we live in. And he's such a lover of devotees, he wants to protect them from the different disturbances in society, simultaneously as give us the highest estimation of Krishna consciousness, but he also wants to protect us in this age of Kali from the ruffians and rogues that are present, the dacoits. Text 104.
Ke achilun ami purva janma kaha gani ganite lagila sarva gyana prabhu vakyatsuni.
Please tell me who I was in my previous birth, the Lord said. Please tell me by your astrological computations. Hearing the words of the Lord, the astrologer immediately began to calculate. Purport. Through astrology, one can know past, present, and future. Modern Western astrologers have no knowledge of the past or future, nor can they perfectly say anything about the present. That's interesting. Prabhupada is saying that astrologers can't even say what is happening in the present. They're ignorant. Unless you're connected to the Vedic current, the ancient thought, it's so much speculation. Herein we find, however, that after hearing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order, the astrologer immediately began his calculations. This was not a facade. He actually knew how to ascertain one's past life through astrology. A still existing treatise called the Bhrigu Samhita describes a system by which anyone can immediately get information about what he was in the past and what he is going to be in the future. The brahmanas who went door to door like beggars had perfect command of such vast knowledge. Thus the highest knowledge was easily available even to the poorest man in society. The poorest man could inquire from an astrologer about his past, present, and future, with no need for business agreements or exorbitant payments. The Brahmana would give him all the benefits of his knowledge without asking remuneration, and the poor man in return would offer a handful of rice or anything he had in his possession to satisfy the Brahmin. This is the perfect society. And it's only 50 or 60 years ago that this perfect society was functioning. And it's mostly because of the Western barbaric influence of materialism, capitalism, that all this has deteriorated. And along with that has deteriorated the the essence of religiosity. That's just been sucked out of society so deeply. So therefore everything is in chaos. And this is fueled by the slaughter of the cows, the animals. Because of this, everything is being degraded. In a perfect human society, perfect knowledge in any science, medical, astrological, ecclesiastical, and so on, is available even to the poorest man with no anxiety over payment. Actually, it's described that the Brahmins, if they asked for a donation, then all of their potency would be reduced. We know this. If you're an astrologer and you ask for donations, you will quickly lose your ability to calculate clearly. But if you say you can give me any donation or something like this, then you can remain knowledgeable of these topics. But if you're trying to make money out of it, because money is the opposite, is the antithesis of these sciences. A handful of rice, like Prabhupada is saying, is sufficient. We don't need to fuel the greed in every man's heart. We have to actually we're trying to purify this material temptation, we can say. This is all part of the package of devotional service. See, this is the Varnashram system that Prabhupada wanted to inaugurate in the world. He wasn't able to do that completely, but he manifested many farming communities on the planet. In the present day, however, no one can get justice, medical treatment, astrological help, or ecclesiastical enlightenment without money. And since people are generally poor, they are bereft of the benefits of all these great sciences. These are great traditional sciences that were flowing through the society. The science of astrology. Someone could read your physiognomy of your face, etc., and be able to tell.
See, like sometimes these Brahman, they used to come at my home also, and my mother, she used to give some sugar or something, and he used to tell my mom, this is the problem in your house, or this is so good. I remember I was like 16 or 18, 20 years maybe at that time.
Just 20, 30 years ago. Yes.
Before.
So now it's practically vanished because everyone is suspicious of everybody.
Yes.
Because money, calculation has become into the equation all the time. Everyone is seeking the advantage. To get the advantage of the material energy. They're thinking, I can become happy by this because religiosity is being beaten by Kali Maharaj. This is all, what has happened in the last 20, 30 years is extraordinary. Computers came, the internet came, the cell phone came. All these things to deteriorate civilization. The Vedic Shastra indicates all this. So we're walking around in knowledge of the civilized past, and we can often reference these sciences as we're talking today. And if we encourage this, then at least in small groups this can still carry on. Text 105.
Gani dhyana deke sarva jnana maha jyotimaya ananta vaikunta brahman sabara ashraya.
Through calculation and meditation, the all-knowing astrologer saw the greatly effulgent body of the Lord, which is the resting place of all the unlimited Vaikuntha planets. Purport. Here we get some information of the Vaikuntha world, or the spiritual world. Vaikuntha means without anxiety. In the material world, everyone is full of anxiety. But another world, where there is no anxiety, is described in Bhagavad Gita 8:20. Parastasmat tu bhava nyao vyakto vyaktat sanatana yasa shadaveshu bhuteshu nasyatsu na vinasyati. Yet there is another unmanifest nature, which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. This is a window into transcendence. As there are many planets within the material world, there are many millions of planets called Vaikuntha lokas in the spiritual world. All these Vaikuntha lokas, or superior planets, rest on the effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Yasya Prabha Pavarito Jagadanda Koti, a Brahman effulgence emanating from the body of the Supreme Lord creates innumerable planets in both the spiritual and material worlds. Thus, these planets are creations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The astrologer saw Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu to be the very same Personality of Godhead. We can just imagine how learned he was, yet he was traveling door to door, just like an ordinary beggar, for the highest benefit of human society. This is remarkable, the humility that was manifest by these qualified personalities historically. Because they knew that living a humble life, you will be in contact with the truth, just like the Goswamis here in Radhakund, Raghunath Das, Jiva Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Rupa Goswami. They all lived in such humble ways, because this is the way to connect with that humble in the sense that they weren't trying to acquire any material goods or anything of that nature. They would sleep under a different tree practically every night. Why? Because the tree would be revealing different pastimes to them, and they would hear the pastime from the tree. Then they would go to another tree and hear again more pastimes like this. So purity actually is in simplicity, simplicity of lifestyle, and we become unencumbered by all these disturbed thoughts. But if we're very consciously wanting to acquire material goods, we become so full of anxiety. And the whole world is just thinking. You see, sometimes these rickshaws, they drive so fast, trying to get to their next destination, so they can make more money, more money, more money, imagining that that is going to make them happy and satisfied. How flickering, how unintelligent, how uneducated that is. So we have a service to the Lord to educate people in the real precepts. And Caitanya Caritamrta is describing all of these different windows into the world.
Paramatattva Parabrahm Paramishvara Deki Prabhu Murti Sarva Gyan Hoila Pranpana Pala.
Seeing Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu to be the same absolute truth, the Supreme Brahman, the personality of Godhead, the astrologer became confused. Herein, purport, herein it is clearly indicated that the absolute truth, the Supreme Brahman, is, in the ultimate issue, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, a person in the beginning of all things, therefore, a person is the beginning of all things. Person, personality, not impersonal. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 10.8, Mata Sarvam Pravartante. Everything begins from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord is the supreme living entity. Therefore, whatever exists, whether matter or spirit, is all but an emanation from the Supreme Person or Supreme Life. The modern scientist's theory that life begins from matter is nonsense. Are you a scientist of it? No. But they maintain that from matter, life came. This is how science from the Western world makes these proposals, that from matter, from some Big Bang or some phenomena, that all life manifested. This is completely the Mayavad conception. Life comes from life only. The modern scientist's theory that life begins from matter is nonsense. Both matter and life begin from life. Unfortunately, the scientists do not know this scientific fact, and they're all so proud of their so-called imaginings of the phenomena of this world. They have no idea. And they change it regularly. They change their ideas regularly. Anyway. We have to understand the distinction between the Vedic thought and the ancient historical educational methods to what we have today. So many people in Bharatvash, even amongst the devotees, are thinking, oh, I must get my child educated in a nice school or something like that. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada used to call them slaughterhouses, those schools where the young, I see these kids going to school with their backpacks on their backs, you know, and what are they being fed? What are they being taught? It's been so much influenced by Western thought, which is so impure, because the principal motivation for Western thought is economic development and to do better than your brother or sister. Let me do better. This competitive nature. This is the world we live in. Without Krishna consciousness, we're like, it's tragic. Text 107.
Balitena pare kichu mona haila, Prabhu puna prasna koile kahite lagila.
Purport. Struck with wonder, the astrologer remained silent, unable to speak. He just saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his meditation. Couldn't speak. But when the Lord again put the question before him, he replied as follows.
Purva janma chile tumi jagata ashraya, Paripurna Bhagavan Sarva Aishwarya Maya.
Translation. My dear sir, in your previous birth, you were the shelter of all creation, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, full of all opulences. This is what this humble astrologer is seeing, revealed in his meditation. Text 109.
Purvaya chechila tume eha eva si rupe durvigyane nityananda tomara swarupe.
You are now the same personality of Godhead that you were in your previous birth. Your identity is inconceivable, eternal happiness. Can you imagine? Eternal happiness. We are all struggling for a moment of happiness. We're making so many plans, making so much savings, so much arrangement, calculation for just a few moments of happiness. And yet the Supreme Lord's identity is inconceivable, eternal happiness is the nature of the spiritual world. Satchidananda Vigraha. Purport. By the power of astrological science, one can even ascertain the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything is to be identified by its symptoms. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is identified by the symptoms mentioned in the Shastra. It is not that anyone and everyone can become God without proof from the Shastra. Text 110.
Prabhu hashe koila tumi kichu na janila, Purva ame achalan jyoti goya Allah.
Translation. When the astrologer was speaking so highly of him, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu stopped him and began to smile. My dear sir, he said, I think you do not know very clearly what I was, for I know that in my previous birth I was a cowherd boy. Text 111.
Gopagreya janma cheli gabira raki ala, Se punya hailan eba brahmana chayala.
Translation. In my last birth I was born in the family of cowherd men, and I gave protection to the calves and cows. Because of such pious activities, I have now become the son of a brahmana. Purport. The words of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the greatest authority, herein clearly indicate that one becomes pious simply by keeping cows and protecting them. Unfortunately, people have become such rascals that they do not even care about the words of an authority. People generally consider cowherd men lowly members of society, but herein Caitanya Mahaprabhu confirms that they are so pious that in their next lives they are going to be brahmanas. The caste system has a specific purpose. If this scientific system is followed, human society will get the greatest benefit. Heeding this instruction by the Lord, people should serve cows and calves and in return get ample quantities of milk. There is no loss in serving the cows and calves, but modern human society has become so degraded that instead of giving protection to the cows and serving them, people are killing them. How can they expect peace and prosperity in human society while committing such sinful activities? It is impossible. Such clear knowledge. We are wanting to practice Krishna consciousness, to chant and vibrate the holy name of the Lord, to connect with the current of the Lord. And we have to know how human society should function perfectly. We should be examples to demonstrate to other people how to function as a human being in this world. And protecting the cows is very exemplary activity to do, to look after the cows. Text 112.
Sarva Jnanakahi Amita Caitanya Dakilan Tahate Ashwarya Deki Pranapara Hailan.
Translation: the astrologer said, "What I saw in meditation was full of opulence, and therefore I was confused." Purport: it appears that the astrologer not only was a knower of past, present, and future through astrological calculation, but he was a great meditator as well. Therefore he was a great devotee and could see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be the same personality as Krishna. He was puzzled, however, about whether Krishna and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were actually the same person. Mahaprabhu is not manifesting yet, not manifesting his full identity. So how is this Brahmana supposed to... I can remember when I'd been reading the Bhagavad Gita before I met the devotees, and then I started reading Caitanya Caritamrta. I couldn't figure out who is this Chaitanya. He's saying that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but I've already read that in the Bhagavad Gita. So who is who? How will you know these things without the mercy of the devotees? Text 113.
Se rupe e rupe deke e kakara Kabu beda deki e mayaya tomara.
Translation: I am certain that your form and the form I saw in my meditation are one and the same. So he's seeing Krishna in his meditation, and he's seeing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu out of his meditation. And he thinks they're the same. But how can this be? How can this person be the Supreme Lord? He's bewildered. He's an intelligent Brahman. If I see any difference, this is an act of your illusory energy. So he's saying that yes, you must be that God, and it's your illusory energy that's making me see any distinction here. Purport: Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. In the vision of a perfect devotee, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a combination of Radha and Krishna. One who sees Lord Chaitanya to be different from Krishna is under the illusory energy of the Lord. It appears that the astrologer was already an advanced devotee, and when he came into the presence of the Supreme Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he became perfectly self-realized and could see that the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are one and the same Supreme Person. So because he was a greatly advanced Brahmana, he could see that what I saw in my vision and what I'm seeing outside is the same. He accepted that because he trusted his meditation fully. He was fully realized in his meditational practices, and he realized that what I saw, what vision I was benedicted with, is the same as what I'm seeing externally. Text 114.
Ye hao se har tumi tomaka namaskar Prabhu tare prema diye koile puraskar.
Translation: the all-knowing astrologer concluded, "Whatever you may be, or whoever you may be, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you." The astrologer is really blown away. By his causeless mercy, the Lord then gave him love of Godhead, thus rewarding him for all his services. So beautiful. Purport: The incident of Lord Chaitanya meeting the all-knowing astrologer is not mentioned in Chaitanya Bhagavat, but we cannot therefore say that it did not take place. On the contrary, we must accept the statement of Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami that whatever the Chaitanya Bhagavat did not mention, he has especially mentioned it in the Caitanya Caritamrta. So Krishna's Kaviraj is sometimes revealing pastimes that weren't revealed in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, because he's listened from Raghunath Das Goswami, he's listened from Rupa and Sanatana, so he's getting all this understanding. Text 115.
Ekadina Prabhu Vishnu Mandape Vashiya Madhu Ana Balena Dakiya.
Translation. One day the Lord sat down in the corridor of a Vishnu temple and began calling out very loudly, "Bring some honey, bring some honey." Text 116.
Nityananda Goshani Prabhu Avesh Janila Ganga Jala Patra Ani Sumake Darila.
Translation. Nityananda Prabhu Goshani, understanding the ecstatic mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, brought a pot of Ganga water as a token and put it before him. Text 117.
Jalapana Korya Nache Hana Vivavala Yamuna Karsana Lila Dekaya Sakala.
Translation. After drinking the water, Lord Chaitanya became so ecstatic that he began to dance. Thus everyone saw the pastime of attracting the river Jamuna. Purport. Yamuna Karsana Lila is the pastime of attracting the Yamuna. One day, Sri Baladev wanted the Jamuna river to come before him, and when the river Jamuna refused, he took his plough, wanting to dig a canal so that the Jamuna would be obliged to come there. Since Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the original form of Baladev, in his ecstasy, he asked everyone to bring honey. In that way, all the devotees standing there saw the Yamuna Karsana Lila. In this Lila, Baladev was accompanied by his girlfriends. After drinking a honey beverage called Varuni, he wanted to jump into Jamuna and swim with the girls. It is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 65, 25 and 30 that Baladev asked the Jamuna to come near, and when the river disobeyed the order of the Lord, he became angry and thus wanted to snatch her near to him with his plough. You can go today to this place, it's called Tapavan. It's in Ramghat, just beside Ramghat. And you can see all the marks of Baladev's plough, where he carved in the earth to bring Jamuna Devi close to him. But we should understand this is not the original Jamuna Devi. The original Jamuna Devi is Vishaka Devi. Vishaka is the embodiment of the Jamuna. This is Kalindi, one of the queens of Dwarka, embodying the... Vishaka would not be treated like this by Baladev. But Kalindi could be treated like that. So it's not that original Vishaka, that Shakti of Krishna's. It is stated, yes, he became angry and wanted to snatch her near to him with his plough. The Jamuna, however, very much afraid of Lord Balaram's anger, immediately came and surrendered unto him, praying to the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and admitting her fault. She was then excused. This is the sum and substance of the Yamuna Karsana Lila. The incident is also described in the prayer of Jayadev Goswami concerning the 10 incarnations.
Vahasive Pusi Vashita Vasana Jalaptim Halahata Pute Malita Yamuna Bayam Keshavadrita Halata Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Re. So it's Vihasahi Pusi Vishada Vashanam Jalatartim Haladhati Vita Milata Yamunabdam Keshavadrita Haladara Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Re Jaya Jagadisha Re Jaya Jagadisha Re.
Text 118.
Madha Mata Gati Baladeva Anukara Acharya Sankara Shekara Tandra Deki Ramakara.
Translation: When the Lord, in his ecstasy of Baladev, was moving as if intoxicated by the beverage, Advaita Acharya, the chief of the Acharyas, Acharya Shekhar, saw him in the form of Balaram. Text 119.
Vanamali Acharya Deki Sonara Langala Sabamila Nritya Kare Evesha Vivarla.
Translation: Vanamali Acharya saw a golden plough in the hand of Balaram, and the devotees all assembled together and danced, overwhelmed by ecstasy. Text 120.
E Mata Nitya Vaila Charira Pahara Sandayara Ganga Snan Kariye Sabkela Gara.
Translation: In this way they danced continuously for 12 hours, and in the evening they all took bath in the Ganges, and then returned to their homes. Text 121. So this is the life and times of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Caitanya Mahaprabhu is our life and soul. He is the Yuga avatar at this time, this age. Any knowledge we're going to get is by his mercy. Any connection with the Lord is going to be only by his mercy. The mercy to come even to Radhakund is by his mercy. Everything is going on by his mercy. So we're glorifying him, always thinking of him. Text 121.
Nagariya Loke Prabhu Yabe Agyandila Gare Gare Sankirtana Korite Lagila.
Translation: The Lord ordered all the citizens of Navadvip to chant the Hare Krishna mantra, and in each and every home they began to perform Sankirtan regularly. Text 122.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Gopal Govindaram Srimadu Sudan.
All the devotees sang this popular song along with Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Gopal Govindaram Srimadu-sudan. Text 123.
Mridanga Kartala Sankirtana Mahadvani Hari Hari Dvani Vina Aye Nahi Suni.
Translation: When the Sankirtan movement was started, no one in Navadvip could hear any sound other than the words Hari Hari and the beating of the mridanga and the clashing of handbells. Purport: The International Society for Krishna Consciousness now has its world center in Navadvip, Mayapur. The managers of this center should see that 24 hours a day there is chanting of the holy names of the Hare Krishna mantra, with the addition of the Hari Hariya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. For this song was a favorite of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's. We see also here in Radhakund, at so many of the principal temples, all the principal temples here, Madan Mohan, practically all the temples, there's continuous kirtan. There's Harinam Kirtan in all these temples. But all such Sankirtan must be preceded by the chanting of the holy names of the 5 tattvas, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Sri Vasari Gauda Bhakta Vrinda. We are already accustomed to chant these 2 mantras, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Sri Vasari Gauda Bhakta Vrinda, and Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now after these, the other 2 lines, namely Hari Namaha, Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Gopal Govinda Ram, Sri Madhusudan, should be added, especially in Mayapur. Chanting of these 6 lines should go on so perfectly well that no one there hears any vibration other than the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. That will make the center spiritually all perfect. It will make our center spiritually all perfect too, if we're continuously chanting this holy name. Wherever we are, whatever activities we're doing, we should always have that sound vibration close to our consciousnesses in any circumstances. We had that beautiful verse, Caitanya, what's that?
Caitanya Shmitye Yasmin Duskaram Sukaram Bhavet Vishmita Vishmitaryat Syat
and Sri Chaitanya Namamyatam, that when one thinks of Mahaprabhu, everything becomes easy. And when one does not remember Mahaprabhu, easy things become very difficult. Always be thinking of Mahaprabhu. Text 124. Suniyaye kruda haila sukala yavana kaji pashi ashi sabe koila nivedana. Translation. Hearing the resounding vibration of the Hare Krishna mantra, the local Muslims, greatly angry, submitted a complaint to the Qazi. 500 years ago, it was very difficult for the devotees. The Muslim invaders were there. They had conquered India. They were the government of India. And now it's going to be described how they tried to check this chanting, this Sankirtan movement. Purport. The Pujadara, or city magistrate, was called the Qazi. The Jamadars, or landholders, Mandalaras, levied taxes on the land, but keeping law and order and punishing criminals was the duty entrusted to the Qazi. Both the Qazi and the landholders were under the control of the governor of Bengal, which at that time was known as Sabha Bangala. The districts of Nadia, Islampur, and Bagoyana were all under the zamindar named Hari Hoda, or his descendant known as Hoda Krishnadas. It is said that Chankazi was the spiritual master of Nawab Hussain Shah. According to one opinion, his name was Maulana Shirajuddina, and according to another, his name was Halibar Rahamana. Descendants of Chankazi are still living in the vicinity of Mayapur. People still go to see the tomb of Chankazi, which is underneath a champak tree and is known as Chankazi Samadhi. We go every year on our Navadvip Parikrama. We go to the Chankazi Samadhi. Text 125. Krode sandaya kale kachi eka kare aila mridanga mrit bangiya loka kahite lagila. Chankazi angrily came to one home in the evening, and when he saw kirtan going on, he broke a mridanga and spoke as follows. So this is major. Now he's taken that prohibition out into action. He's actually broken a mridanga. So this is like, a sign for violence to break out, which is what is about to happen. Text 126. Eta kale kahe nahi kaila hindu yani abeye undyama kailo kara balo jani. Translation. For so long you did not follow the regulative principles of the Hindu religion, but now you are following them with great enthusiasm. May I know by whose strength you are doing this? This is what the Qazi is saying. Purport. It appears that from the aggression of Bhaktiar Kuliji in Bengal until the time of Chankazi, Hindus, or the followers of the Vedic principles, were greatly suppressed. We should celebrate our freedom today. We're not oppressed, we're not suppressed. We are allowed to chant Hare Krishna on practically all the big cities in the world. This may not always be like this. We should celebrate this time to cultivate our Krishna consciousness. And in Pakistan, practically no one could execute Hindu religious principles freely. Chankazi referred to this condition of Hindu society. Formerly, the Hindus had not been straightforward in executing their Hindu principles, but now they were freely chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Actually, that was a fact. Although the members of Hindu society had followed the socials of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they actually began following the regulative principle according to his order. That order is still existing, and anywhere and everywhere in all parts of the world, one can execute it. That order is to become a spiritual master under the direction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by following the regulative principles, chanting daily at least 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and preaching the cult of Krishna consciousness all over the world. If we adhere to the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we shall get spiritual strength without a doubt, and we shall be free to preach this cult of the Hare Krishna movement and not be hampered by anyone. So with some courage and fortitude, the devotees should go out and preach this cult all over whoever it is we're speaking to, whoever it is, even if we know that they're an atheist, still, we should be letting them know, be indicating what is the reality. This will give us great confidence. There's one beautiful shloka, Shraddha Shabde Vishvasa Koi. This Vishvasa means confidence. When you have faith, you have that confidence. When you have faith, you naturally have that courage. Like Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada himself. He's walking with the Supreme Lord everywhere across the planet. No one had even heard of Krishna in the Western world. And he took such a bold stand for Krishna that the whole Western world, just one man, he influenced the whole Western world in such a short period of time. In 10 years, the Western world began to chant Hare. Previously, they had not even chanted any Hare Krishna. No one had heard of Hare Krishna, practically. Text 127. And all that courage is coming from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. And my Gurudev, his courage is also coming from Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. And that courage is coming from Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. So this is a line, a current, coming through our Guru Varga to give the courage, the fortitude, the conviction of our faith that this movement must go on, because otherwise there's no auspiciousness for the people in general. Text 127.
Keha kirtana kahiye sakala nagara haji ame shama kari yachena ngara.
Translation. No one should perform Sankirtan on the streets of the city. Today I am excusing the offense and returning home. This is the words of the Kazi. So now we're in for a very big pastime, the biggest revolution to take place in India for a long time. Purport. Such orders stopping Sankirtan in the streets of the world's greatest cities have been imposed upon members of the Hare Krishna movement. We have hundreds of centers all over the world, and we have been specifically persecuted in Australia. In most cities of the Western world, we have been arrested many times by the police, but we are nevertheless executing the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by chanting on the streets of all the important cities, such as New York, London, Chicago, Sydney, Melbourne, Paris, and Hamburg. We must remember that such incidents took place in the past, 500 years ago, and the fact that they are still going on indicates that our Sankirtan movement is really authorized. For if Sankirtan was an insignificant material affair, demons would not object to it. The demons wouldn't object, but they object so strongly. The demons of the time tried to obstruct the Sankirtan movement started by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Similarly, demons are trying to obstruct the Sankirtan movement we are executing all over the world. And this proves that our Sankirtan movement is still pure and genuine, following in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 128.
Arayati kirtan korite laga paimu shrava sarvas basa dadiya tara jati ye laimu.
Translation. The next time I see someone performing such Sankirtan, I shall certainly chastise him by not only confiscating all his property, but also converting him into a Muslim. So these were real threats at the time. We're so fortunate we have not grown up in a world with that sort of threat behind us, have we? That hasn't been present. In your country, Lithuania, was that? Huh? Okay. From Russia. Yes, yes, Soviet Union. The devotees did much more when it was suppressed than even This is what it's describing here, exactly the same dynamic. When it was suppressed, the devotees actually gain courage from that, and they chant more. But when it's allowed and open, they all go to sleep. Purport. To convert a Hindu into a Muslim was an easy affair in those days. If a Muslim simply sprinkled water on the body of a Hindu, it was supposed that the Hindu had already become a Muslim. During the transition of the British in Bangladesh, during the transition of the British in Bangladesh during the last Hindu-Muslim riots, many Hindus were converted into Muslims by having cow's flesh forcibly pushed into their mouths. Hindu society was so rigid at that time of Lord Chaitanya that if a Hindu were converted into a Muslim, there was no chance of his being reformed. We know the story of, what's his name? That Brahmana, Suraya Rishi, Subudhi Roy. Subudhi Roy had some water sprinkled on him, and he went asking how he could be saved from that, and they told him to drink boiling ghee, which means you commit suicide, basically. There's no solution once you've had that water sprinkled on you. But we don't follow that today. If a Muslim throws water on us, so what? We're not going to be intimidated by a smarter idea. But cow's flesh forcibly pushed into their mouths. Hindu society was so rigid at that time that Lord Chaitanya, in the time of Lord Chaitanya, that if a Hindu were converted into a Muslim, there was no chance of his being reformed. In this way, the Muslim population in India increased. None of the Muslims came from outside. Social customs, somehow or other, forced Hindus to become Muslims. Most of the Muslims we see in India today, they're actually being converted from originally Hindus. Originally they were Hindus. And many of the Muslims today in India are so influenced by the numerous festivities that go on. Like now Durga Puja is going on. Everyone is hearing kirtan all the time, this loud kirtan of Durga Ma. Or there is Janmashtami celebrations. Everyone hears the kirtan. The Muslims, they also hear. They see the processions, etc. So they're not hardcore Muslims like the ones in Pakistan that are more or less like segregated in a different mood. The Muslims, generally speaking, of course they can be incited by demon people. They can make problems, propaganda to make Hindu-Muslim riots. This is what the British wanted to do. It's called the Machiavellian policy, where they would divide and rule. In this way, the Muslim population in India increased. None of the Muslims came from outside. Social customs, some or other, forced Hindus to become Muslims with no chance of returning to Hindu society. Emperor Aurangzeb also inaugurated a tax that Hindus had to pay because of being Hindus. Aurangzeb was so horrific. He is the one who is responsible for pulling all those temples down. He saw the yagya on top of the Govinda temple, 7 stories high, from Agra, which is about 30 miles away. And he came with his soldiers and they just demolished like 4 of the floors. But then he was called away to Delhi. So 3 of the floors we still have today. The Radha Govinda temple is there. But and so many of the deities, Gopal deity, were buried because of the fear of the Turkish or the Muslims. So this was the atmosphere when Mahaprabhu was here. Hindus had to pay a tax for being Hindus. Thus, all the poor Hindus of the lower class voluntarily became Muslims to avoid the tax. So they couldn't afford to pay the tax, so they became Muslim instead. So that's how it was. In this way, the Muslim population in India increased. Chankazi threatened to convert the people into Muslims by the simple process of sprinkling water on their bodies. Look, I'm going to stop now. This is just beginning this pastime. It's a lengthy pastime, very ecstatic pastime, when Mahaprabhu incites the whole populace of Navadvip, every single person is described, millions of them, to find light of them, get their lighted torches, and then Mahaprabhu goes in the streets with huge Sankirtan party, hundreds and thousands, practically millions, all the populace of Navadvip. And they all chant, go through with massive kirtan. It's described that the sky is about to crack with the sound vibration of the holy name. And then they all converge on the Kazi's house. And if you read in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Mahaprabhu is shouting, kill the Kazi, kill the Kazi. He's inciting them all. And they all go and pull out his garden, break his trees, and he's telling, burn the house, burn the house. But then the devotees, they come and petition Mahaprabhu. No, you have advented in this lila not to commit violence. So then Mahaprabhu, he stops. But the Chankazi has become terrified. So there's one description in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, and we're going to hear another description in the Caitanya Caritamrta tomorrow. It's a most ecstatic description. So we have to go. My battery's almost finished. Sri Caitanya Caritamrta ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, O Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, O Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari, Gau Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol, Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhuvevacha, Patitanam Pavnebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namo.